The human condition is simply an outcome of choices. Where you are right now in your physical experience is simply an outcome of choices. So if you want a new outcome, you make a new choice. And the number one choice that you always have access to that doesn't cost you anything, that you don't need to take a course or a class or a workshop or get a reading to understand, is your mental perspective. 98% of your physical reality is merely a projection of what you have going on internally. It's about expectation. It's about programming. It's about indoctrination. It's about what you've been trained to believe is true and real about you and the world that you live in. Hi, friends. It's Amar. Happy March. How are you? I'm laughing at myself because it has taken me so many times to get this video recorded. Sometimes the information just flows through effortlessly, and for whatever reason, it just wasn't flowing. But here I am, it's flowing, and I'm ready, and I'm here for you. Happy March, happy Ascension update video. I am calling this The New Earth Portal is Open. As with all of my content, no matter when you're viewing it, this message is evergreen, and what that means that however and whenever it has crossed your feed, crossed your path, now is the perfect time for you to be perceiving and receiving this message. There's so much on tap for March. There's a lot going on this month, and it took me a minute to get my notes organized. So get a pen and paper. If you're a note taker, there's probably going to be some stuff that you're going to want to make note of. Of course, you can always come back and watch this at any time. I do have a tendency to speak pretty quickly, especially once I get going. So if you're finding my pace to be a little bit too rapid and overwhelming, you can always adjust the playback settings and you can make the video playback a little slower. That way my pace won't be quite so quick. It might be a little bit easier for you to take in and for you to comprehend. There's so much going on. Have I mentioned that there's a lot going on this month? Because there is. March is absolutely another one of those months where it could be the ride of a lifetime, the adventure of a lifetime, or an exercise in fear and, paralysis. And it really just depends on the perspective that you are putting on this month. And more than anything, that's what I like to offer you: practical tools, practical perspectives, practical wisdom that you can begin to apply to your experience right now today. There's so much that we are dancing with right now. There's so much chaos, so many endings, so much collapsing, so much revelation, and all of it is pointing us in the direction of this new Earth portal that is opening this month. We've got a lot of astrology shifts. We've got the eclipse season beginning this month. We've got the equinox this month. There's a whole bunch going on. And hopefully in this video, you're going to be able to find some guidance and some insight that's going to help you navigate these waters a little bit easier. Speaking of which, Awakening School is now up and live. Registration begins on March 16th in just a couple of weeks. I'll put the information in the description box below so you can read more about Awakening School and get on the list so that you don't miss out when registration opens. I also have a series right now that I'm doing, Awakening 101. It's on my event tab of my website, amar.energy. Every Sunday for the next 7 weeks, I am hosting a free series of events entitled the Awakening 101 series, and we're focusing on a different topic that really are the things that most humans experience and touch on when they're going through their spiritual awakening. These are the topics that I find most common come up in my sessions with clients and in my workshops and courses. So check all that information out below. It's going to be in the description box. One thing that my guides are saying almost every single day with me and in every single session with clients is that this is not a new chapter. This is a whole new book. I'm not one that really likes to go into this idea of adversarial or us versus them, but energetically speaking, and in terms of your perspective and how you are navigating the world this month and really through the rest of the year, and I would say beyond, I would say the next 18 to 24 months, this perspective could be really, really valuable, that it's about the old world versus the new world. The old ways of survival mode are not going to work anymore. The old stories that you used to tell about yourself and who you are and what was possible and what was your lot in life, they're just not valid. They're just not holding water. And in fact, to use them and to employ them is actually holding you back. This is about going from surviving to thriving. Upheaval and chaos are everywhere on the planet right now. I talked about this in the last video. I'll put the link up. Yeah, it'll be up here so that you can view that if you want to know more about this. But basically, whenever we see chaos on the planet, is evidence that something is falling apart. It's evidence that something has ended, something has collapsed, and it's time to move on. And when something collapses, it releases a whole lot of energy. So there's a whole bunch of energy up for grabs, essentially, right now, if you want to think about it that way. So when upheaval and chaos are present on the planet, that's actually when the soul thrives. That's actually when your higher, more expanded creator aspects can really come online because there's so much available. So it's about letting go of this old belief that somehow the soul, the higher self, the expanded self is limited by the problems of the humans. Certainly, there's compassion. Certainly, there's empathy and understanding for the challenges that we face from our human perspective. But the soul, the eternal self, the higher self, does not feel bound by the limitations of the physical world. It's not restricted by the human experience. Limitation does not exist to the soul self. So even though oftentimes in our human experience, we're finding ourselves feeling challenged, feeling restricted, and feeling like we're butting up against something, like I always quote one of my favorite astrologers, Stephanie Azaria, says, it's not a block, it's a stepping stone. When you find something that's in your path that feels like it's standing in your way, that is simply an invitation to rise higher in your perspective, to connect to your higher levels of awareness and realize that from your higher self's perspective, there is no limitation, there is no restriction, there is no problem. The magician does not look around at the physical circumstances of their environment and say, oh, well, I guess since the physical illusion is saying it's not possible, then it's not possible. No, the magician understands that they ultimately create their physical reality and their physical experience in the first place. The human condition is simply an outcome of choices. Do you understand me? Where you are right now in your physical experience is simply an outcome of choices. So if you want a new outcome, you make a new choice. And the number one choice that you always have access to that doesn't cost you anything, that you don't need to take a course or a class or a workshop or get a reading to understand, is your mental perspective. 98% of your physical reality is merely a projection of what you have going on internally. It's about expectation. It's about programming. It's about indoctrination. It's about what you've been trained to believe is true and real about you and the world that you live in. But if you want to change your reality, you begin by changing your mind. So everyone who has the ability to think, the ability to perceive, also has the ability to recreate their experiences, to recreate their identity of themselves within their experience, and thereby change their life. So here's one of the keys for March that I really want you to start to pay attention to. A lot of what is in your physical reality right now is simply leftovers from what the old version of you created. The current state of your physical reality is not so much telling you what is, it's telling you what was. I'll repeat that. Your current physical circumstances are simply leftovers that are the remainder of what the old version of you created. I'm going to give you a perfect example of what I'm talking about. There's that podcast out there called the Telepathy Tapes. You may have heard about it. If you haven't, I highly recommend checking it out. It is mind-blowing, it is groundbreaking, it is paradigm-shattering, and it is absolutely a shift in our consciousness. And when I'm talking about the old world, what I'm talking about is in the telepathy tapes, they're focusing on people who are autistic, who were previously seen as nonverbal or non-speaking. The old perspective was like, oh, well, they're just lost. They're just disabled. They're never going to speak. They're never going to have a thriving life. They're never going to be productive. You're never going to be able to communicate them, blah, blah, blah. Whatever the medical and scientific establishment said simply is not true. The telepathy tapes are actually the process of this woman who's a neuroscientist and her colleagues, and they're discovering that these people, these autistic individuals, are actually legitimately, literally telepathic. They have telepathic connections with one another, they have telepathic connections with their family, and all of them across the board are sharing experiences about these deep, rich, vast inner lives where they are connected to a level of reality that most of us have never even come in contact with. They were not limited by the old world view that they were somehow disabled and less than. They were actually thriving in their own way, in their non-physical, higher dimensional reality where they're communicating with one another. One woman discovered that her daughter knew multiple languages. Her daughter knows how to identify hieroglyphs that she's never seen before. They're connected to the conscious cosmic mind. They're just downloading information simultaneously and instantaneously, and all of them are talking about a higher power. All of them are talking about being visited by angels, being visited by these benevolent beings of light. And so the telepathy tapes is a mind-blowing listen. I highly recommend it. When I listened to the first couple of episodes, I found myself speechless. Like, it literally took me a couple of days to integrate the truth that the new world, the new human, Homo luminous, divine human, human 2.0 that we've all been talking about for quite some time now, this new earth reality, it is not some dream that is somewhere in the future at some point down the line. It is happening now. This next level of the human is here now and has been right underneath our noses the whole time. But because the scientific and medical communities at large were dead set on trying to take this evolutionary leap in human consciousness, they didn't understand it. So they were trying to fit it into an old world view, which ultimately limited and cut it off at the knees. And when in fact, and in actuality, they were so far beyond what any of us had comprehended. My point here is that the new earth reality is happening now. The new human is emerging now. So this idea of the old world versus the new world is perfectly exemplified by the telepathy tapes. These children, these individuals were not disabled. They were just operating at a frequency and in a way that most of us could not comprehend. That is a perfect example of what I am talking about. The old paths are not going to take you to new places. If you are dead set on trying to force your current reality into an old model so that it makes sense to the mind, which is ultimately the most limited part of you, you're just holding yourself back. And these old institutions and these old agencies that are still dead set on the old way, all they're doing is relegating themselves to the dustbin of history. Progress is moving on. Life is moving forward. We are moving into this new reality, and we have been here actually for quite some time. We are just remembering how to exist, how to function, how to thrive in these higher frequencies of reality. And it's taking the physical self a little bit of time to adjust. And it's certainly taking the collective consciousness and the consensus reality a whole lot of time to adjust. But that does not mean that it's not available to you right here, right now. And with the eclipse season kicking off this month in March, that is the beginning of this portal opening. We have a ton of stuff happening astrologically this month. You know, I always say I am not an astrologer. I'm mostly a tourist. I recommend Pam Gregory as an excellent example of what is going on astrologically. I love her perspective. Stephanie Azaria as well. Really, what we're talking about astrologically is one of the big ones is Neptune is finally leaving Pisces. Neptune has been in Pisces since 2012. Y'all remember what was going on in 2012? It was the apocalypse. It was the revelation. It was the beginning of this heightening and this acceleration of the frequencies as we were finally moving into the Ascension and New Earth timelines in physical reality. The old ways have been dissolving. That's what Neptune and Pisces is all about. It's about the amplification of that watery Pisces energy and dissolving the old structures, dissolving the old collective shadow, dissolving the individual shadow, dissolving all of those limitations. And Neptune will be moving into Aries, and that is going to be a major uptick in that fiery, new, young, powerful, like pioneer energy. Aries is the beginning of the zodiac wheel. So Aries is the baby of the zodiac. Aries is when we are reborn. And so the astrological new year begins in Aries season. And as Neptune moves into Aries, I predict we're going to see a huge uptick in this energy that, again, it might be challenging, it might be chaotic, but you just have to become a better surfer. Just because there's big waves doesn't mean that you can't get in there and mix it up. It just means you have to be better at surfing. And we're in Pisces season right now. And so here's a couple of things that I want to share about Pisces. Pisces is the ending of the zodiac wheel. Pisces is in many ways a culmination. Pisces is a completion. Pisces is basically taking all of the lessons, all of the stuff that you've learned, all of the wisdom that you have gathered through the past cycle and integrating it and embodying it. Pisces is the fullness of all of the lessons in the moment as you move into this new octave, armed with the understanding and the tools and the applications that you have gathered through your journey to really allow yourself to step into this new cycle as we move into Aries season. Now, the shadow of Pisces is delusion. I talked a little bit about this in the previous video when I was talking about grounded delusion, and there's something that I want to talk about and make clear here. The idea of grounded delusion is not denying the current physical reality. It is not about creating spiritual psychosis or going into this mental place where you are creating an unhealthy delusion. Grounded delusion means I know what is happening in the external world outside of me. I acknowledge it. I am not bypassing it. I am actually acknowledging, yes, I see the chaos that's happening in the world right now. Yes, I acknowledge the reality and the physical details of my human experience. And I also know that that does not limit me. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about grounded delusion, because the shadow of Pisces, again, is delusion. The representation of Pisces is often the ocean. And if we think about the entirety of the ocean that covers the majority of the planet's surface, it is a really overwhelming thing sometimes to comprehend. It's like trying to comprehend the concept of infinity. How do I comprehend infinity? How do I comprehend something that is eternal? It's really, really challenging. But the trick is that you don't necessarily have to intellectually understand it. That is the challenge of water signs and water energy, is it's not necessarily about an intellectual, logical understanding. It's about the experience of it. It's about living into the sense of your infinite nature. It's about swimming in the waters of the entirety of creation and allowing yourself to be held by that. Pisces, in many ways, is about surrendering to the unknown. It is about understanding that you are supported in ways that your human mind can't even comprehend. So, as we move through Pisces season and the culmination and the integration of all of that really, really high level expanded stuff, it's really important that you maintain that sense of groundedness. Interestingly, right now, we also have the Pisces and the Virgo lunar axis. So Pisces is that dreamy, watery, highly psychic, highly intuitive, feminine water energy, but it's very, very up there and out there. Virgo is the element of earth, which is also a feminine energy, but it's very grounded. It's very real. It's very earthy. It's very practical. So in many ways, the tension between Pisces and Virgo is Pisces teaches Virgo how to dream. Pisces teaches Virgo how to loosen up and become more fluid and flexible. Virgo teaches Pisces how to ground it, how to make it real, how to get your head out of the clouds for a second and acknowledge the reality of your physical experience. So March, in many ways, with this heightened Pisces energy, is going to feel tempting to go into delusion, to go into distraction, to go into just the little fishy swimming along with no clear idea, no clear intention, and no real focus. And so it's important that you take the time and make the time this month to stay grounded, to do your inner work, to spend the time in stillness and mindful connection so that you can be really, really clear on what's really happening for you in your experience. So Pisces is about moving into the next octave of your reality. And I think one of the things that is really, really challenging for many people right now, and I'm seeing this time and time again in my client sessions, is that we are creating new templates and new models. The new earth is new. It's what my guide said. This is not a new chapter. This is a new book. The old version, the old story will not work anymore. It's not going to hold water and it's not going to gain traction. And you're just going to be spinning your wheels if you're trying to go back to the old way because you just don't know, right? It's this sense of like, well, I know I'm supposed to be doing something, but I don't know what it is. I know that there's a new idea, a new project, a new desire, a new vision, but I don't know how to make it. That is actually your superpower. In the old world, not knowing and having no experience felt scary. It could even be something that held you back. So in the old world, the reality was like, I gotta know, I gotta understand, I gotta have knowledge, I gotta have information, I gotta fake it till I make it. Because if I don't know, it's gonna hold me back. Actually, your not knowing now is a superpower. It's the thing that self and spirit and your guides want you to lean into. The groundbreaking creation is not found in the familiar. The new thing is not found in the past. It is in the unknown. The unknown is the realm of miracles. The unknown is the realm of something that has never happened before finally actually being possible. Your guidance this month is asking you to lean in. Pisces season is the most magical time. It is also the season, again, of culmination and completion. So a lot of stuff is coming to fruition this month in terms of the old ways finally being complete, finally opening the portal to the new reality and leaving it behind. This is the month to fully embody all of creation as the field that moves through you. Possibility, potential, and things that have never happened before are closer than ever. And this is the month. Think about it again. It's the ocean. How do you define infinity? How do you define eternity? You don't. You simply live it. You simply allow it to move through you and carry you and guide you. The energy that you're swimming in this month is more magical than anything that we've ever experienced before. So this is when your guides and helpers are really beginning to emerge as co-workers and colleagues, because the frequency that we are in collectively right now on the planet is higher than it has ever been, which brings us closer to the frequency of our guidance and our helpers than we've ever been before. Meanwhile, they've also been descending in their frequency because now we're in a place where they can actually meet us. So this is the month when the miraculous and anything is possible. You know, this month is all about dancing with the feminine. I have been seeing this also in pretty much every single client session that I've been having lately. The feminine is showing up really, really powerfully. And she's saying, come to me, sit with me, reconnect with those deep, ancient desires that maybe you can't even define. Maybe it's just like a rhythm, it's a vibe, it's a feeling. It's like hearing the beat of drums, you know, off in the distance, and you're like, I can feel it, I can hear it, I can sense it, I can even start to tap into the vibration of it, but maybe I don't have words for it, or maybe I can't name it. That's okay. This is the feminine at her most mysterious and her most determined. She is saying this month, look, I am under no obligation to make sense to you. She is focused on what she wants, and what she wants is for this new experience to be birthed through you. Venus retrograde is also a big player this month. And Venus retrograde, from my perspective, is the feminine going deeply within herself to reconnect to her truth, to her clarity, to the purity of her dreams and her desires. This is next level surrender and embodiment. So it's about letting the feminine come in to purify and exalt you so that you can begin to move forward, listening to the rhythm and the call of that feminine desire that lives deep within you. What is it that you really want? Not the Miss America answer, not the like, oh, I want to feed the children and I want world peace. Okay, that's fine, that's wonderful. But what do you really want? Not what do you think you can have, not what do you think is possible, not what is the acceptable answer or the nice answer or what good boys or good girls want, not what is the spiritual answer, not the thing that you feel like you have to apologize for because, oh, am I wanting too much, or I want to be polite, or am I unworthy? No. What do you really want? Like, really, what do you want? This is the month to begin to get really, really clear on that. And again, making friends with what you don't know, letting the unknown and letting the lack of clarity become your superpower. So if you don't know what you really want, that is where you begin. And you say, Spirit, I don't know what I want. I know what I don't want. I have a sense or an inkling or kind of like a vibe of what I want, but I don't know how to put it into words. I don't know how to describe it. And I certainly don't know how to claim it because I don't know what it feels like, right? So let that be your prayer. Let that be your offering, and let that be the thing that you begin to work on to say, my cup is empty and I'm ready to be filled with the reminders and the remembrance of all that I am and all that I can be and do and have, and start there. So just because you don't know what it is doesn't mean you can't have it. That's actually an opportunity for you to really open yourself and become vulnerable to the eternal mystery, to become really, really close with your guidance and your helpers, both physical and non-physical, and say, I need help in figuring it out, and then just allow yourself to be filled by that guidance and that support. It's kind of like the Fool reversed in the tarot. If you think of the Fool card, you know, the Fool is represented by the number 0. 0 is the pure potential. It's the superposition. It's the unfertilized egg. The Fool is the one that's proceeding off the cliff into the new adventure and into the new experience. But in many ways right now, it's like the Fool is reversed. So it's like, yeah, the leap is coming. The new experience is coming. The portal is opening. But what it's really important that you do first is get really clear on that feminine impulse that's moving through you, because she is asking you to create something new. It's not about leaping into the unknown with the old ways and the old mindsets. This is about, again, It's not a new chapter, it's a whole new book. This is a whole new reality. Something that I've been seeing with clients, especially with a couple of them recently, I'm thinking of. There was one who was talking about wanting to sell some property, and historically, her old world life, her old reality was like, well, I just have money challenges, and sometimes I just have to take a hit. So maybe I'm just going to have to knock like, $100,000 off the selling price and just take the hit and just be done with it and just accept that. And the answer that came through really, really clearly was no, don't do that. That is the old self. That is what the old self would have done. And of course, that old way, because it's so familiar, it feels really comfortable. And it's really, really tempting to use that diluted Pisces energy to fool yourself into saying, well, that's just how it's going to be. But what her guides and what the information that was coming through for her was very clearly saying was like, no, it doesn't have to be like that. You might have to wait a little bit. You might have to kind of hang out and be present and be still a little bit, but you don't have to go into the old way of needless sacrifice. I had another client who was talking about that ultimately, when it came down to it for her, she just wanted to love. She wanted to be in partnership. She wanted to be in love with her life. She wanted to be in love with her experience. And she was kind of feeling like that fire had gone out. And when we were more deeply exploring what was going on for her, we kind of came to the realization she was like, I don't really know what that version of love feels like. I don't really know what that deep, committed, divine partnership feels like. And I was saying, girl, I get it. It's like if someone's saying, oh, just put in the abundance mindset, just feel the vibration of abundance. But you're saying, I was born in a dirt shack and never had any money. I don't know what abundance feels like. So it was the same thing for her. Like, I can tell you what I think it is, but I don't really know because I've never felt that. So the guidance was, let yourself be empty. Come to spirit with that as your truth, saying, I want more than anything to be filled with that divine love and to be in that divine partnership. But I have no idea what it feels like, what it sounds like, what it tastes like, what it smells like. I need you to help me, spirit. I need you to show me. I need you to guide me to those experiences that will allow me to begin to have that deep divine connection within myself so that then I can find it outside of me. Essentially, the instruction is just let your inner cup become so full that there is no choice but for that, that love and that divinity and that magic to spill over into the physical reality. And that's how you begin to create it. So it's really, really important that we understand that radical belief is really, really crucial right now. Again, looking at your physical reality and saying, okay, this is what's happening out in the world right now. This is the physical reality that I'm seeing right now. And that's not what I want. I'm choosing something higher. I'm choosing something else. And then beginning to tap into that frequency and the energy of your helpers and your guidance and say, I don't really know that what I want feels like. I don't really know what am asking for. I don't understand the reality of that. So please show me and guide me and help me get there. And they will come in to help you. So it's really key this month that we remember old paths won't take you to new places. And if you're interested in gaining some practical tools, some practical insight, again, sign up for the Awakening School information. The link is below for you to read that page and to enter your email address so you can get on the list. Registration opens March 16th. It's going to be an amazing, amazing program with an incredible group of individuals. I'm super excited for this. And more than anything, what I want for you is to remember how powerful you are, to remember your magic and your creator abilities so that you can put yourself back in the driver's seat and reclaim your life. I love you. Have a fabulous month. Thank you for watching. Bye.